The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big. And the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state.
Hey everyone, it's Andres, and I'm just going to shoot straight from the hip on this one. I need to address Kash Patel's FBI because it does seem like this current FBI is the same as the old. For those of you that follow me on locals, my locals community already saw this last week when I addressed this about what's happening, and that's with respect to a couple of people that I consider friends, and that'd be Sarah Adams and Dave Benton. Anybody follow me long enough would know who they are. Boone, most notably, was one of the heroes in Benghazi. A bunch of Americans are alive because of the heroics of him and his fellow brothers at arms that were able to hold off the enemy. And point of contact to when they finally leave the airport in Benghazi, 13 hours, hence the title. Our government hasn't been doing much of anything, including those on the Republicans that supposedly are aware of these things, that want justice for Benghazi, but they're more focused on Hillary and just locking her up. Nothing ever being done about that either. She needs to be held accountable for a bunch of other things, not just Benghazi. But that's not the point. We were attacked that day. And when I say we, because Americans were attacked. They were targeted and attacked. And those were two different attacks on that day. Two different locations, two very different purposes. And of course, there might be some overlap. But the thing is, we were attacked on Benghazi. And the reason I talk about this quite often is because I need to cut through the noise. And I want you to get a picture of where we are because we let politics muddle the waters. The left continues to parrot that it was a YouTube video that caused these riots turn violent throughout the Middle East. They cite Cairo, what happened at the embassy there, as the biggest example. And Benghazi was not that. It just happened to coincide with it. Like, oh, look at that. That was a great cover. And that worked as a way to kind of ignore responsibility and follow-up that needed to be done with respect to holding those accountable, that not just at the leadership level that failed to act, but also in trying to get those that did the attacking. Those guys that attacked, some of them went on to leadership positions and went on to commit other attacks throughout the world. You can piece things together, and from the research that Sarah and Boone have done with their sources, you could connect it all. It's a crazy weave what you see. Every time I see it's like, I don't know how you keep it together. This is nuts. And some of them were involved on October 7th in Israel. Some of them were involved in an Abbey Gate bombing in Afghanistan during the pullout. There's a bunch of other things that have happened. Some of them have been involved in Syria, with the fall on Assad and all that. And it's like, what have we done? Sarah and Boone they were able to track down the motor team responsible for killing two of the GRS, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty. Nothing was done to extradite them. But even crazier still is the fact that one of the attackers in Benghazi, the FBI relocated him to Virginia. I don't know the details about that at the top of my head right now, but like, what are they doing relocating? Because I never heard anything about like, oh, this person's being brought up on charges, going to be faced trial, anything like that. No, I haven't heard anything about that. If anything, there's very little talk about rounding up masterminds or just high-level individuals that were involved in the attacks at the CIA Annex and the Special Missions Compound in Benghazi. So what is currently happening with the FBI, and why I say that it's more of the same? And conveniently, when I did talk about this on my locals community, the next day, one of the biggest voices in conservative media, Ladowit Crowder, he addressed this very thing too, but not in the way I'm addressing it, where it's like, oh, the FBI is not doing enough. In my case, what you're doing, I don't like. It's a retaliatory investigation into them, Sarah Adams and Boone, mostly to shake down Boone for his sources and how they're gathering this information. This sounds almost no different than what was happening under the Biden administration when the Pentagon was upset at Sarah, and she even reported as much. That's why she went on. It was a Sunday that she went on the Sean Ryan show to record, and I believe it was broadcast either the same day or the next day, where Sean brought her in because she had tweeted that the Pentagon was chastising her because, like, why did you send direct intel to an embassy instead of going through the proper channels. And her argument was, I've sent you intel via the proper channels and you failed to act on active threats. So she sends directly to some of the embassies that were being targeted for attacks so she can warn her friends. And instead of acting on that intelligence or asking her, like, okay, what's the intelligence? Let's look into this. The Pentagon was upset at her and told her, don't do it again. I'm not going to listen to you. And that was that. They didn't ask her about the intel. They didn't do any follow up on the intel. They were just chastising her because she sent intel. I expected a change in that under Kash Patel. And he needs to get his house in order. I'm not saying that he's the one responsible for all this, like retaliatory stuff, but he's the one in charge, so I have to call him out. And by extension, Dan Bongino, where it seemed like he was running some interference for the FBI and others. Like, what the heck are you guys doing, bringing in certain controversial individuals to leadership positions there? But mostly it's this. Kash Patel, I didn't follow or really know him. I just knew his involvement in defending Trump and all this for the lawfare that was waged against him in his first term. And of course, the lawfare waged against Kash Patel in retaliation for his defending of Trump. So I've liked what I've heard him say. That doesn't mean I like I'll become a fan of someone just because of a viral clip or something like that. I'm not that gullible. I know that's just a snippet of someone's entire life. And sometimes people, they do performance art for the camera instead of being their authentic selves. And I try to be authentic with all of you. And as I record this video, it's even more upsetting. I haven't heard the entirety of the speech. In the spirit of the speech, and people have been talking about, I know, I get it. But Trump is supposed to be meeting with an Al-Qaeda leader, Jolani of Syria, when they're actively dragging, killing Christians. I've been posting this on my social medias, mainly on X, Parler, and Instagram. Instagram. Sure, the atrocities that have been going on in Syria. It's against Christians. And now we're a secession or to the sanctions against Syria to see if they'll prosper. And supposedly Trump will be meeting with Jolani within 12 or so hours from this video I make. Like, dude, I don't like any of these optics. I really need to see Kash Patel's FBI get in order. Did I ever believe that Kash Patel was going to do what he said on Sean Ryan's show, is going to turn the Hulu building into a museum? Of course not. Tough talk. Said it with a lot of conviction, but it was bull. It's like, yeah, right, you're going to do that. There's a huge apparatus that won't let you do it. It's very early on. That's all I'll say to this. I feel different about Kash than I do about Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's had her chance. A lot of concerns about her were not really talked about, surprisingly, but I was aware of some things, that, for example, that she was the attorney general in Florida that oversaw the original Epstein case, or just learning recently that she was a lobbyist for Qatar. We all have to hold those that we support and those that we voted for accountable, or else, again, there'll just be more of the same. And I really hope that this FBI, that's the same as the old, can be changed. And be brought on the right track. Not to say they haven't done some good. I know they've done some good. But there are some cases, including the Benghazi case, that falls on the FBI purview, and they have really screwed that one up. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it. Thanks very much. You guys know the drill. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.